Hello, so today I'm going to be going over the top 10 things I wish I knew before becoming a guitarist. So number one is that there's always going to be someone who's going to be better than you. You're never going to be the best guitarist ever. And that's simply because there's always going to be someone who's got more time, but also you can't master everything. You're not going to be a perfectionist of every single genre, every single technique. The second thing that I wish I knew before I became a guitarist is that you never stop learning. When I started, I kind of was expecting to play for a few years and then kind of just become a good guitarist, but the more you actually learn, the more there is to learn. It kind of unlocks more routes that you can take. So when you start off, you might like learn Smoke on the Water and you might be like, oh, I can learn rock songs, yeah, and then you learn Sweet Child of Mine, you're like, oh my god, I'm a guitar god. And it is amazing when you learn those songs, but then you find out there's a genre called funk, and then you find out there's a genre called jazz, and then you find out the sub-genres of each one, and then you find out there's a million techniques and Greek mode scales and all this theory that you didn't even know even existed. Just because you've learned a certain song, you've actually found out that that is a thing. So you'll never stop learning. You need to go into it knowing that actually I'm not going to finish. It's a constant learning curve. My third point, which I guess most people will probably be quite excited about, is the fact that people are actually willing to pay someone who might not be the best guitarist on the planet to come and play a gig for them. So for example, I was in a covers band for a little while and we got paid, it was the right money. We did like local pubs and that, and definitely weren't the best, but people were willing to pay just because we were getting people to buy drinks and stuff, and it was great. Then I became a guitar teacher and I realised that actually you don't need to be some kind of guitar god to be able to teach people, because most of the students you get in are people who haven't even picked up a guitar before, and the more you teach, the more you learn. You get students come in who actually have played the guitar before. Like for example, when I was doing my work experience, I actually had a kind of little experience with a grade 7 student. Just because I'd been practicing so much, I naturally was able to quickly on the spot come up with ideas of how to kind of deal with a grade 7 student, whereas normally I'd think, holy moly, I'm not going to do all that. So my fourth thing is the equipment cost. It's so expensive. I mean, I'm holding my Les Paul at the moment. This was just ridiculous money. This was, I think it's actually worth like 1,300, and I got it a bit discounted. But for example, like these guitars, they're not super expensive guitars, but I mean, it's more than I earn. And then you've got amps, you've got pedals, you've got to find the leads to power the pedals. You've then got to buy all the jack leads for the pedals to connect them to your guitar, and then you've got to have the guitars in the first place. Obviously picks are like pretty much nothing. You've got to have guitar stands, like for example I've got wall mounts, I've got one that I take on gigs here that you can't see. And then you've got to look after the guitars because they break, they're literally wood and metal, they change all the time. Honestly, the list of prices just go on and on and on, and you could spend thousands of pounds on single guitars. It's stupid. Kind of going on from that point about pricing is that actually when I first went into it I thought, oh, you know, I mean my first guitar's here actually, which is this one, and it's obviously one of like, you know, the ones that kids kind of all start off with, and I thought, oh, I can't be a good guitarist if I've got a cheap guitar, you know, I need to be good once I've got a Les Paul. But actually, I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, having an expensive guitar does feel and make it so much easier to play, but if I picked up this guitar, as long as I haven't got to turn it up too loud because of the buzz, I can play it just as well as I can play this. So don't worry about buying expensive gear, buy the stuff that you can afford and that you know is going to help you get what you want to get. And my sixth tip, I think that's where I am at the minute, is confidence is so key when it comes to performing, and even when you're like recording songs and teaching. Obviously confidence comes into everything, but musicians usually go into it thinking, oh, I'm hidden by the instrument. But actually, when I started off and I was quite shy of playing the guitar, my solos were shocking because not only did I not really know like many scales and that, but like when you're doing reverb and like just how hard you hold down the notes, if you're holding them down really weak, you can actually fully hear the shyness, like the embarrassment of that guitarist. And so being really confident in what you're playing, if you're just playing a 12-bar blues or Smoke on the Water, make it sound good. Don't be like, oh, I don't know if this is right. Learn it, and then you won't have that embarrassment. Okay, so my seventh point is every little thing you do matters, whether that be in your performance, in your practice, anything like that. I didn't really practice things like scales when I was starting off, but I noticed later on that, you know, the more I practice them, actually putting a bit of like extra reverb on each kind of scale, it makes a big difference because you get used to it playing live. Even like learning songs while sitting down versus learning songs standing up. If you've learnt them standing up, when it comes to a standing up performance, your hands are going to naturally be there, whereas if you learn while sitting down, your guitar's up here. So unless you're like a funk player, or I've got a lot of bass players who are like this, it's not going to help you out at all. Guitarists usually have them really, really low if you have it down there. So make sure that you're really concentrating on little things as well as reverb. So my 8th thing on my list that I really didn't realise when I first started doing guitar, and I think a lot of people don't realise until they take it a bit more seriously, is you do actually need to practice. It's not just something that us guitar teachers or your guitar teacher says to you, you know, you need to practice this week because this and this and that. It really, really does make a difference. When I started to get paid for gigs and teaching and that, I then realised, okay, I actually need to practice. And I actually kind of realised you can actually be a lot better than you think you are just by practicing. It could be once a week, but that once a week really makes that difference. If you obviously practice more, like once a day, that's where you're really going to notice a difference. But I think it's really important as well, though, opposing to that, and this isn't really one of my points, but have a break as well. It's really important that if you are practicing like every day, have a couple days where you just don't touch or think about the guitar. Go play some games or something, because you'll just wear yourself out and burn out. You need to relax and let your mind kind of work it all out and have a little rest. So my 9th point is scales. There's lots of different opinions on scales. I know that a lot of new people will be a bit like, oh, I don't want to learn scales, and I didn't want to learn scales. I learned the minor pentatonic like everyone probably did. I'm not going to lie, I didn't learn the major pentatonic until the other day when I was teaching a student. I was like, maybe I should learn this now. But when you start to get into guitar and you start to learn things like modes, and obviously you learn the blues scale pretty early on, it really does make a difference, because playing the difference between a standard kind of pentatonic whilst you're improvising between playing like a Lydian scale. Not only does it pretty sound like cool if you were like bragging about it, but it sounds cool in terms of the instrument as well. You'd be playing it and you're like, oh, that's a nice note. But find your own way of playing them. For example, when I was learning modes, I didn't want to look it all up. I struggle with looking something up and learning it. I have to teach it to myself kind of thing. I figured out that obviously the modes are different increments of the major scale, so I did the wide hand major scale, and I'll explain that in another video, but just find your own way of liking and enjoying the scales and using them. Okay, so my 10th and final point is chords. Now, everyone will probably learn things like, you know, the D major chords, your E minor and G major, and you'll learn like the easy variants when you're starting out as well. But when you start to get really confident with that and your chord changes and you're really like fluent with it, start looking at how you can add certain little notes or take certain notes away. Look at 7th chords, whether that be dominant 7, major 7, minor 7. Just that little like addition or subtraction of one note can make such a difference in making it sound so much more professional. For example, if I was playing a D minor versus a D7 minor, D minor 7, you might not be able to hear it in this video because obviously it's through my iPhone recording, but if you heard that in a recording, you'd really, really hear the difference. So that was my 10 kind of things that I wish I knew before I became a guitarist. Hopefully that if you're looking to get into guitar, that's kind of helps you decide that it is a really, really good, fun thing to learn, and it does actually help you out financially if you're looking for that kind of route. It does take time, and if you're not mentally prepared for the fact that you're not going to be the best, it's impossible, and that it takes a lot of effort to do, then I think you're going to really, really enjoy guitar. Leave some comments in the comment section below if you've got any questions about anything that I've talked about, or there's any future video ideas you want me to do, just let me know. Thanks for watching.